Hello everybody, my name is Shrimpep, and as you can see, today we're not playing any game, we're not doing any stream highlights. Actually today I'm going to show you all how I personally make YouTube thumbnails. By making this video I just want to show you all how easy but at the same time complicated it is to make a YouTube thumbnail. So I guess we can start by opening up Photoshop. If you have it, if you don't have it, you can always use some other program like Paint.net or even a trial version of Photoshop if something like that exists. So yeah, first of all, if you want to make a YouTube thumbnail that will look good, you have to of course change the resolution of it. I usually use 1280 by 720 because I think that's the most optimal resolution for YouTube. First of all, what will you need is going to be a background. A YouTube thumbnail with just text, just black text, is just of course not going to be looking good, is it? So first of all, let's find ourselves a background which would look good. We can find a background like this just by typing in Google or whatever search engine you're using, just by typing cool backgrounds or like YouTube backgrounds, and you'll find something like that. Of course you can make one yourself, but for the purpose of this video I'm not gonna bother with that, and I'm just going to use one that we are already being given to. So let's paste in this thumbnail just by drag and dropping this photo, or you can just always copy it into the Photoshop, and here we go. And if the resolution is too small or too big, you can always use Ctrl+T to minimize it and maximize it. So after you found yourself a background or made yourself one, some people prefer to add some borders to their thumbnails, because sometimes this might just look too flat even with, you know, a background. So how we can do it, and how I personally do it, is just by adding a new layer, selecting shape tool, rectangle tool, yeah, and just dragging it from here to here. It doesn't really matter. What does matter is that you will have to change the width and the height of the border just like that, but in this timeline. Otherwise it's just going to not match up with your thumbnail, and after you've done that you just use Ctrl+T to move it around and to make it fit. Then what I do is just remove the fill by pressing here and then adding a stroke, and I usually, I don't know, 14 should be good. After you've finished creating your border, just press Ctrl+C on your background and Ctrl+V to get another one. Then just move it up above the rectangle layer and just by pressing Alt, merging them together. Of course it looks like nothing has changed, but then while still being on the layer of the background, the other one, just press Ctrl+T and just move it around, and you can see the border is changing bit by bit. So by doing so, you can make it look a bit different than the actual background is. So we have ourselves a border that's barely visible, but in my opinion, that's good enough. So after you're done making a border, and after making the border pop out a bit, what you can do is next add a catchy text. It can't be clickbaity, but only do that if it's necessary. So what I came up with is just basically how to make a thumbnail. Of course, before doing that, you should find yourself a font by going to dafont.com or any other font websites, because like no one really wants to see your font looking like this, right? No one really wants to click on something that has a font like this. So basically what you can do is just change the font to whichever one you installed. I personally prefer to use the Bebas one. To me personally, it looks like the best font to ever use. And of course, by the time if you ever get big, it might even become a staple of your thumbnails. So after adding some text, you can add even more text. I know, right? Surprise. After doing that, you can also add some another text. This time I chose to add something clickbaity, like confirmed by PewDiePie. Of course, it hasn't been confirmed by PewDiePie, so I'm just gonna add an asterisk and say here, not really. So people wouldn't really go after you if this video blows up and, you know, you're gonna find out it wasn't really confirmed by PewDiePie. So after you added some text, of course, don't forget to change it around. You can move it wherever you want. It doesn't have to necessarily be in the middle. It doesn't have to be like at the left corner. It can be all over the thumbnail, just wherever you prefer for it to be. And after that, you should change the color of the text. What I like to do is just to add gradient to every single text so it would look good. Of course, you can leave it as it is, like black, white, orange even. It always works, don't get me wrong, but I just like to add some gradient. So after adding some gradient effects by just double clicking on the text layer. You can just make yourself a gradient. I already made myself one, so that's why I didn't have to do anything. But if you want to make your own, just press here and you can choose from the colors. I think that process is pretty straightforward. So after doing that, you can change this one, and let's add a stroke, because then it makes it to pop out more for the people to be able to read it more easily. You can make it black, you can make it white, whichever one makes more sense for your thumbnail. I'm gonna make it white this time because the thumbnail is kind of dark. If you like whatever you did on this text, just press here, do copy layer style, and just paste it on the other text layer. And now they both look the same. You can click on both of the layers by holding Control. Then you can press Ctrl T and just move them around together if you like to. I'm gonna place my middle row, I'm gonna rotate it a bit and place it somewhere in the middle. Yeah, like this. And of course you can change it after a bit. It doesn't always have to stay the same by the end of the creation of your thumbnail. So after doing that, what you can do is add some props, some external photos, like for example, PewDiePie himself, so the video would look more believable, right? So this is a photo that I found of PewDiePie. I'm gonna use this one. Of course, you can save the image. You have to save the image, otherwise I don't think it's going to be PNG. Yep, it's not, so otherwise you'll have to cut it out yourself. So you just press save image and you just save it. And I already have it saved, so I'm just gonna use it. So yeah, here's PewDiePie. I know it's a pretty strange photo to use, but I'll just use this one. I'm gonna flip it horizontally. Of course, make the border be underneath it so he wouldn't come out of it. And I'm gonna make the text go underneath him. So like sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes it does look good when the text goes underneath a character or even PewDiePie in this case. But yeah, in this case, you can see it doesn't really work. So all you can do is just move around the text so it would pop a little bit more. Of course, you can cover like a bit of a part of the E, but otherwise I think it looks pretty epic. And it kind of lines up with the gun as well. You can do that. You just line it up so it would look like PewDiePie is actually shooting it. And just leave it as they are. The second thing you can do is add another PewDiePie. Like it might work, it might not, right? But I don't think it will fit this video at all anymore because there is already one PewDiePie, and if I'm gonna add another one, I think there might be way too many PewDiePies. So after doing all of that, you can add a YouTube icon, for example, that you find off on the internet, right? Don't forget to rasterize this layers, otherwise you can't delete it for some reason. Then you can just move the YouTube button just around. Yeah, it looks pretty cool, doesn't it? And don't forget to add some stroke to it as well. And of course, after doing all of this, you can add some stroke to the PewDiePie himself as well. So everything would just pop. Yeah, what about it? It looks really cool right now. So after making these changes, what I like to do personally as well is to add more effects, and this time an effect that's more subtle, a drop shadow. You can change the settings here around. I like to keep it like that, and then I just copy layer styles. Don't do that if you have like different effects on different layers, because then it will override them. So just leave them as they are, or just change it manually. But if they're not the same, you can do it like that. Like you see what just happened? After making all of these changes, the last thing I like to do is just add myself my watermark. Who doesn't like to show off to people that it's their thumbnail that they have made, or they have a template, a preset? You can also have one. Like, it's not really hard to make. You just find a PNG or create it yourself and just add some text over it. There are many ways you can make yourself a watermark. And the last thing I like to do, I know I said the many last things I like to do, but is to color correct the PewDiePie. Like if he has way too much color, you just go on his layer, you go to adjustments, hue and saturation, and you can just of course make him more black. Oops, you have to not forget to click Alt and click on the PewDiePie layer, otherwise it's gonna change the whole layer. So you can make him more black, grayish, whatever. So after we're all done, this is how our final thumbnail is going to look like. Thank you all for coming to today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun by doing this project, by making this PewDiePie thumbnail. I think it came out pretty well. So if any of you are interested into having thumbnails similar to mine and being made for you, you can always check out my Fiverr page. I just created it. So if you want me to make you a thumbnail, you can always ask me there. Thank you all for coming to today's video, and I'll see you all next time.